They were a global sensation, a rock and roll trio that jumped from comic books to Saturday morning television, bringing friendship, adventure, and a major step forward for diversity in animation. So why, after only 2 seasons and one very strange trip to space, did the music suddenly stop? Well, this is the story of the rise and fall of Josie and the Pussycats. Act 1. The Rise. Now this story begins not on a stage, but on the pages of a comic book. In the early 1960s, cartoonist Dan DeCarlo was one of the defining artists behind Archie Comics. Always sketching and always searching for new ideas, he found inspiration close to home. His wife, Josie DeCarlo. Now, according to her, the famous leopard print look that would later define the band was inspired by a costume she wore on a cruise. DeCarlo turned that spark into She's Josie, which debuted in 1963. And at first, it was a standard teen humor comic, basically Archie's answer to a girls' ensemble. The comic centered on the sensible Josie, her sweet but scatterbrained friend Melody, and their smart, bespectacled pal Pepper. And for years, their stories followed the familiar formula of teenage crushes, comedy, and misadventures. But by the late 1960s, pop culture was shifting fast. And in 1968, another Archie property, The Archie Show, became a huge television success. It wasn't just the cartoon that clicked. The music became a phenomenon too, especially after Sugar Sugar became a #1 hit. Suddenly, Hollywood had a new lesson. Cartoons and pop music could be a goldmine. Hanna-Barbera, already a powerhouse thanks to shows like The Flintstones and Johnny Quest, saw the opportunity immediately. They partnered with Archie Comics and reworked Josie's world to fit the trend. And in December 1969, the comic was officially renamed Josie and the Pussycats. Josie, Melody, and a newly redesigned third member were transformed into a globe-trotting pop group. Now, it was the perfect setup for television. Hanna-Barbera could combine the proven appeal of a music-driven cartoon with the mystery-adventure formula they were already perfecting on another fresh hit, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And the stage was set for Josie and the Pussycats to become much more than a comic book act. Act 2. The Peak and the Problems. So when Josie and the Pussycats premiered on CBS on September 12, 1970, it felt like a perfect storm of everything kids loved. It had goofy villains, international spy-style adventures, slapstick comedy of course, and music. And every episode featured a chase scene set to an original pop song, making each cartoon feel like a mini music video. The band was fronted by Josie, voiced by veteran actress Janet Waldo, alongside the lovable but hilariously clueless Melody, voiced by Jackie Joseph. And around them was a full supporting cast: the timid manager, Alexander, the jealous Alexandra and her cat Sebastian, and the dependable roadie Alan. But the most important change from the comics was the addition of bassist and tambourine player Valerie Brown. Now, in the original comic, the third main girl had been Pepper, a white character. Now, for television, the producers made a major change. The show's music was produced by La La Productions under Danny Jansen, and for Valerie's singing voice, Jansen hired Patrice Holloway, an extraordinary black vocalist and the sister of Motown singer Brenda Holloway. Her voice was so strong that Jansen insisted the animated character should reflect the singer behind it. That demand created tension behind the scenes. Hanna-Barbera hesitated, but Jansen refused to budge. He reportedly threatened to walk away unless Valerie was animated as a black character. And after a prolonged standoff, the studio agreed. Valerie was voiced on screen by Barbara Parriott, sometimes credited as Barbara Ingram, and television history was made. Valerie Brown became one of the first recurring black female characters in a Saturday morning adventure cartoon, and more importantly, she was not treated like background decoration. Valerie was smart, capable, and often the real problem solver of the group. And in many episodes, she is the one who figures things out and helps save everyone else. So, at a time when representation in children's television was limited and often stereotyped, Valerie stood out as a quiet but powerful breakthrough. The show itself was a hit. Audiences loved the mix of mystery, comedy, and music, and the songs became a major part of its appeal. The soundtrack album, powered by Patrice Holloway's standout vocals, developed a lasting cult following. And even Melody's singing voice came from future star Sherry Moore, who would later be known to the world as Cheryl Ladd. Now, the original run lasted only 16 episodes, but the show had a long afterlife in reruns. It aired across multiple networks through the mid-1970s and later found a whole new audience on cable. For many viewers, the Pussycats became one of those unforgettable pieces of Saturday morning television history. Act 3. The Fall and the Legacy. Now, despite its popularity, Josie and the Pussycats never got more than those original 16 episodes in its first format. Saturday morning television moved quickly, and the networks were already hunting for the next gimmick. Hanna-Barbera, in particular, had a habit of taking familiar formulas and adding a twist, and in this case, that twist was outer space. So for the 1972 season, the show was completely retooled into Josie and the Pussycats in outer space. And yes, the setup was as wild as it sounds. In the opening, the gang is posing near a spaceship when Alexandra's jealousy causes chaos. Everyone tumbles aboard, and the craft accidentally launches into space. And from that point on, the formula changed completely. Instead of being a touring pop group caught in earthly adventures, the gang now drifted from planet to planet, meeting aliens, escaping danger, and performing songs during chase scenes before blasting off again.
Okay, Melody, let's start. 1 and 2 and...
They even gained a furry little alien companion named Bleep, whose language only Melody could understand. Now, the reboot did extend the series by another 16 episodes, but it also marked the end of what made the original concept special. The grounded idea of a girl band wrapped up in glamorous mystery adventures was replaced by a more generic sci-fi setup. And even the music changed. Patrice Holloway, Cheryl Ladd, and the other original vocal performers did not return. New session singers were brought in, and the show lost part of its identity. In other words, the series had officially jumped the shark, or maybe in this case, jumped the galaxy. After its run in space, CBS cancelled the franchise for good in 1974. The Pussycats made one last notable animated appearance in a crossover episode of the new Scooby-Doo movies, but after that, the original TV era was unfortunately over. So what is the legacy of a show that burned so brightly, yet so briefly? Well, first and foremost, it is Valerie Brown. Her presence was groundbreaking. In an era when children's television rarely featured black female characters in meaningful roles, Valerie was smart, confident, and essential to the team. She helped prove that diverse representation could work in mainstream animation and opened the door for more inclusive characters down the line. The show also helped cement the image of the all-girl pop band as something exciting, stylish, and culturally powerful. And that idea would echo through later cartoons, comics, movies, and TV shows for decades. And even though the original series was short-lived, its cultural footprint remains surprisingly large. The theme song is still instantly recognizable to many fans. The leopard print costumes became iconic, and the property kept resurfacing through comic revivals, the clever 2001 live-action film, and even the Riverdale universe. From a comic book concept inspired by a real cat costume to a groundbreaking piece of animation history, Josie and the Pussycats became far more than just a cartoon band. They were a stylish, globe-trotting, mystery-solving sensation that perfectly captured a moment in pop culture. Their original rise may have lasted only 16 episodes, but the impact went far beyond that short run, and even their bizarre detour into outer space could not erase what made them important. They brought catchy music, cool visuals, and most importantly, a major step forward in representation to Saturday morning television. For a band that eventually got lost in space, their legacy here on Earth turned out to be surprisingly lasting. But what was your favourite Pussycat song, and which member of the band was your favourite? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this look back at cartoon history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.